Welcome back to another episode of Trevor Revisits. And as promised, I'm here to talk about HiT Entertainment and how they've handled the Thomas series to begin with. Now, keep in mind that I'm not here to bash anybody who worked on seasons 8 to 16, not even Sharon Miller herself, because as I stated years ago, I don't really hate her as a person. I just thought her writing could have used some work, that's all. Now, with that out of the way, let's start this topic by talking about how they've bought out Thomas to begin with. Here's a fun bit of trivia. HIT stands for Henson International Television and was originally founded by Jim Henson back in 1982. And in 2002, they bought the rights to Thomas and Friends but didn't make any big changes until 2004, starting with season 8. One of these big changes was changing the camera quality from 35mm to digital. And while I do prefer the 35mm camera quality because it makes the series feel like a movie, but the digital camera is just fine because it kind of reminds me of theater tugboat in a way. But instead of tugboats, we got trains as usual. Another big change was the Steam Team idea, which is a core cast of 8 characters containing Thomas, Edward, Henry, Gordon, James, Percy, Toby, and Emily. And to be quite honest, I don't mind the idea of a Steam Team because it lets the audience know who the main characters are. As for the engine roll call theme, I'll admit I did like this song at first, but nowadays I find it to be okay, though it does get tiring to hear after a long while. I mean, it's just as tiring as Let It Go from Disney's Frozen. That's why I prefer the original theme song by Junior Campbell Michael Donald instead. And here's another fun bit of trivia. Duck was originally going to be part of the Steam Team as well, but was replaced by Emily because HiT Entertainment wanted a female in the main cast, which led the fanbase into hitting Emily in the first place. But not me, of course, because I actually like Emily, and I didn't mind her replacing Doug temporarily because Doug lives and works at the Little Western branch line, as I previously stated in the last video. Besides, Emily's too overhated and deserves more love and respect than what she already got. And yes, I still think Michael Brandon is an okay narrator. Now, despite some of the positives with seasons 8 to 11, there are also plenty of negatives. For example, there are certain characters like Edward, Henry, Toby, Scarlori, Rheneas, and even Diesel 10 who are completely out of character when compared to their previous roles. Not only that the older and wiser engines like Scarlet and Rheneas act immature and stupid, but Diesel 10 in Calling All Engines was nothing more than a big grump rather than an evil villain like he's usually portrayed. Oh, and how could I forget some of the one-off characters like Billy and Hank, who only existed just to sell merchandise? Now, I don't mind having new characters occasionally, but if you're going to introduce a brand new Thomas character, at least give them a better purpose in the series rather than just to sell toys. Otherwise, they're just plain useless and forgettable. As for the new music score by Robert Hartshorn, it's mostly mediocre and not as memorable as the original music by Junior Campbell and Michael Donald, but there are some themes here and there that sound pretty nice, like Emily's Season 8 theme, for example. It's just as nice and charming as her original Season 7 theme, in my humble opinion. After Season 11 ended, then came Season 12 in 2008, which was a transition season from the model series to the CGI era. And when I first heard about this change, I thought it was going to be a bad idea. But after getting it an honest chance on YouTube back in the day, I was like, it ain't so bad. I think I'm going to like this new Thomas. Or at least I thought it would be until season 13 came along and got even more boring. But more on that season later. Oh, and to those who complained about the CGI Thomas transition at the time, well, here's my honest response to you all.
Oh my god, who the hell cares?
I mean, seriously, just because it's CGI doesn't automatically mean it's bad. And don't get me wrong, I love the Marvel series as well, but you must understand that if HiT Entertainment kept the Marvel series format, then chances are they'll go bankrupt. That's why CGI animation is faster and cheaper. So all in all, seasons 8 to 12 were okay seasons. While they're not as good as the first 7 seasons in terms of the runtime and camera quality, at least they had better pacing than seasons 13 through 16, which we'll get into next. And no, we're not revisiting the Pack series just yet. We'll worry about that in another video. Alright, now let's move on to the full CGI series. One thing I love about this series is that they brought back the individual voice actors for some of the characters, like Marvin Sherman as Thomas and Percy in the US dub, who I think did a fantastic job, even though he got mistreated by the producers, unfortunately. Sure, these aren't the same voice actors from Thomas Magic Railroad, but they still did a great job, in my opinion. Another thing I like about seasons 13 through 16 is the beautiful CGI animation provided by Nitrogen Studios because it looks so colorful and vibrant. But in terms of the overall formula for these seasons, it's just so boring and redundant. You see, the Sharon Miller era had rhyming and alliteration that's so annoying and unnecessary because it makes the episodes seem like they take too long to finish watching, and as a result, it makes them boring. Not to mention that the usual main character of each episode acts like a moron, while the rest of the side or supporting characters acts like the smart ones. I mean, there were times when Thomas acts like an idiot. For example, in Thomas and the Rubbish Train, Thomas was given a job to help with push a long line of garbage trucks, but doesn't want anyone to make fun of him for being smelly anymore. So he decides to temporarily abandon his job by going to places where the air smells fresh and would eventually get rid of the smelly smell. How does that work? If you want more information on the subject at hand, I'll provide some links in the description below. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. So yeah, despite a few positives with the Nitrogen Studios era, it's still my second least favorite part of the original Thomas series because of the repetitive storylines, annoying alliteration, unnecessary rhyming, and moronic characters. Oh, and I've also heard that this wasn't entirely Sharon Miller's fault. It's mostly the producers of HiT Entertainment who are to blame for this crappy formula. And personally, I don't blame Sharon for this, and I'm sure she's a very nice person in real life. But on a brighter note, at least HiT Entertainment ended the Sharon Miller era on an overall positive note with Blue Mountain Mystery and Season 16, and they've gotten even better in the Art Productions era, which lasted from Season 17 through 20. This just goes to show you that even bad companies can redeem themselves eventually. If hits can end on a good note, why not Mattel? Well, thankfully, they stepped up their game for the 8th anniversary this year with brand new classic merchandise, as well as airing the Down the Mine pilot onto YouTube. I'm giving the Sharon Miller era score of a 4.5 out of 10 stars, while the new model era gets like a 6.5 out of 10 stars. Oh, and here's hoping that the upcoming 2026 project will be a massive improvement because I don't want another bad reboot like All Engines Go ever again. Now let me know your thoughts on HiT Entertainment in the comment section below. Do you still like them, hate them, or think they're okay? And if you still like them, then that's perfectly fine. But if you can't stand the haters even at the time, then just ignore them. Believe me, I used to join the HiT Entertainment bandwagon back when the Nitrogen Studios era was relevant. But nowadays, I regret doing so because now I think they've had more heart and effort put into the Thomas series than Mattel did in recent years. I said this before and I'll say it again. Say what you want about HiT Entertainment, but at least they've gotten better afterwards in terms of writing. And they even cared about the quality of their merchandise despite how gimmicky some of them looked. And besides, they're old news, and they're not all bad either. And like I've said a million times before, I take any bad era of the original Thomas show over any bad reboot of any kind any day, for nostalgic reasons. This is Trevor Davis signing off, and I hope you all have a great rest of the autumn season.